Good evening. Thank you for coming to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting, October 1st, 2013. We'll begin our meeting with the salute to the flag, please. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Poland, can you take the roll, please?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Snipes?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
All right, thank you very much. We have a pretty straightforward agenda this evening, doing some good things, some first steps towards some good projects. We want to begin actually with a presentation to John Kerner, who is from Liberty USO. Mr. Gray, you want to take this, please?
Yes, several months ago, the township had the annual barbecue event, the Queue for the Troops, and from the event, the township had we raised money for the event. The total amount of the payment that the township was looking to provide to Mr. John Kerner from Liberty USO is $6,000.
Okay. Mr. Kerner.
Yeah, this is our 4th year having the event, and it took us 4 years to actually start making money. But this year it was actually a pretty big success, and we did raise a few dollars for you. And it's an event I'm very proud of. It's a lot of work goes into it for a great cause.
That's one that we run. It was really well laid out. Unfortunately, there weren't as many people as probably due to the weather.
Right, it was very hot.
Incredible event.
Yeah.
Really was.
Let's go down here.
Sure. Come down.
Okay.
Roll call.
No.
You can't cash it until Thursday.
No, just sit down, Roger. I went to get the agenda first now before you. I didn't see the
Given that
president.
type,
Thanks an awful lot for your help. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks an awful lot. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, if I could.
could you get one with all 5 of you stand at the same time? Yeah, if we could get, yeah. Fred the corner.
I want an honorary citizenship here.
This is Fort Click.
Yeah, Mayor Beecher always says I'm a lot more township meetings here than I did. I just have 1 or 2 short things that I'd like to say in reference to this. First and foremost, to everybody with concern with Falls Township, especially our Board of Supervisors, who've worked so hard on this to make it a success. We're really proud down at Liberty USO. The troops this year elected us or voted us the #1 airport terminal in the United States. But we had some pretty tough competition. They're now putting one in San Diego, and they just opened a big one down in Tampa, and they're really looking for our throne, if you will. Also, this year we've handled more of the friends of the fallen, the families of the departed. The bodies all come into Dover. The families all come into Liberty USO at Philadelphia International Airport. It's the saddest mission that we do, but it's also the one that we're the proudest of. We continue with our preparation of a farewell meal as well as a welcome home meal to every unit that deploys through the joint bases at McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst. And we're looking for a real busy year this year because in the next 15 months, they're talking about bringing them all home. We're certainly saying a lot of prayers that happens on time and without further casualties. Because our motto is until they all come home. It's going to be a busy year, and I'm really hoping that we can get the continued support from Falls Township. Again, for each and every member of Liberty USO and all the military and their families that we support, thank you very much for your support. This is a big help. Thanks again, folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And a special thanks to Mr. Dents. You know, a lot of people are involved in this, from our Park and Rec department to, and our park security, to Public Works, Mr. Gray, and our police department, finance
everybody
department.
in the township building.
Yeah, it really is, it's a great thing, but Mr. Dents is really the one who's been pushing this the most, so thank you very much for all the work you do. I know it's not easy, you do a lot of meetings, and it's certainly, it's a lot of fun to go out and see the event, yeah. But thank you very much. And obviously, you're listening to the kind of job that the Liberty USO does, Mr. Kerner, you know, I'm sure he would understand that it's, we hope that there is a time when he doesn't have to do this anymore. You know, that would certainly be something that we can look forward to, and hope that it happens sooner rather than later, that his job is not one that needs to be filled. You know, of course, means we don't have to worry about people overseas as much anymore, so, in terms of our personnel. Okay, we're going to move on with the meeting. We have item number 1, public comment. We have one name signed up. Mr. Kinney?
Yeah, because I stole the sheep. I forgot I had the sheep. Good evening, Roland County Falls Township. First, Miss Poland, a few weeks ago, I had breakfast at my usual place, 5 Points. I ran into your son. You and your husband got to be the proudest parents in the world with that young man. Such a gentleman. If I had another child, that's who I would like him to be like. So polite, had his grandmom out for breakfast. When I walked in, he says, "Good morning, Mr. Kenny." And I knew his face. I'm not used to him being dressed the way he was. I sat down, then I had to go over and say, "Who are you?" I know the face. And he told me. I felt like 2 cents. Okay, so be very proud of that young man. Next, hear a lot of comments in the township over this island, over more fishing piers, more boat ramps. And a lot of people are telling me, why don't they put it on the ballot? Put it on the ballot, we vote yes or no if we want it. I said, I'll ask them, but, you know, I don't think that many people watch this program, and you might not get anybody out there to vote. But they like to have it on there. And again, we have enough money in the kitty to buy a leaf blower truck. Don't shake your head. I see them in all the towns. They even go, my daughter's town up there along the river. The guy comes down and sweeps it up. He don't even get out of the truck. Picks them up. So that's all I got to say tonight. God bless you. Good night.
Mr. Clark, excuse me, can you, this is probably the 3rd or 4th time I've heard the question asked, you know, let's put it on the ballot so the voters can have a say in it, and I just want some clarity on that, if I could.
Mr. Rocco, this is an issue that comes up every so often about what can be put up for a referendum. And under the second-class township code, there are only 4 times when a referendum can be put to the voters of a second-class township. One is to increase the debt for construction or purchase of a hydroelectric generating facility. One is prohibiting racetracks within the township. One is for the sale or lease of a township forest, and one is for the levying of a certain type of taxes known as, which they refer to as special taxes, not just regular property taxes. As I said, over the 12 years I've been in the township, this issue has probably come up at least a half dozen times where people ask if something can be put on the ballot. And essentially, under our, under our representative form of government, the 5 of you are elected, and then the 5 of you make the decisions for the township, and it's only in these limited cases can something be put on the ballot. This issue regarding Biles Island or a fishing pier would not be appropriate for a referendum.
Okay, thank you.
Just,
Understand. Thank you.
Just for clarification, because the issue does come up, and I've had it raised on other things. One of the special taxes, for example, would be for fire protection. We're not allowed to just raise taxes, the tax rate that goes to fire protection. We would have to actually take that to the public and have them vote on it. That taxes would be raised with the understanding that whatever the percentage increase would be would only be used for fire protection, or I think possibly the library also fits into that category. So there are restrictions on what we can do with that, but thank you.
I'm going to
Rob.
comment on the leaf vacuum if I could.
Go ahead.
It's not something that we just blew off. I did a little bit of research. I started doing some research because, like I said, I hate raking leaves as much as anyone. Thanks to Mr. Sullivan, I did some research. He helped me. But White Marsh Township has a total of 59 miles of township road and 28 miles of county road, and they do all of it. They vacuum all the leaves. They use 4 machines, 2 men on each machine, and it takes them 5 days to do the township. They do it every week. They go around, blah, blah, blah. When it gets heavy in November, they use 2 more machines and hire 3 temporary, seasonal help to do it. They own a total of 8 machines. Every year they buy a new machine and sell off their oldest machine. That's a town that's not quite as big as Falls Township. Falls has about 87 miles of township road and 46 state roads. But that's just something to compare what they spend and use. I know that Joe Arneo, when we asked him about it, he's spread thin. He doesn't have manpower to dedicate to doing something like that. So there is a lot involved with just starting to buy machines and hire people to do it. It's not like we have one guy and one machine is going to do the whole town. It would take them all a year. But that's the only information I have right now.
We've looked into looking at other townships. We don't really know, except for Lower Makefield, we don't really know of any other township in the area that does this. I've gotten a couple of contacts from people who just remember, who have lived here for a long time and just hated the idea when it was done before. People rake all their leaves. One windy day, all the leaves are everywhere now. Nobody comes back out to rake them. If it snows, the leaves never get picked up until the springtime. I think in one case, I know Mr. Sullivan, because I got a copy of that report as well. One community that starts doing leaf vacuum things in the fall and doesn't finish till April. It is essentially an operation that is much more intensive than people think it is. It's not as simple as driving around with a truck and just sucking leaves up.
That's Medford Lakes, New Jersey, with 1,400 homes is all they have.
Right.
It takes them all, they're not done till April.
Right. So, and I forget, Plymouth White Marsh has maybe half the population we have. Is that right?
16,000 people.
16, so less than half the population we have. Okay. So just, and I thought that was a pretty good, piece of information that Mr. Dent's looked into. So, and the issues come up periodically. Every once in a while, if someone comes around this time of year for obvious reasons and raises it, and we've looked at it. It is not something cheap. It is not easy, and it's not something we're blowing off just because we don't feel like doing it. I mean, it really is something that is much more complicated and much more involved and much more expensive than people think it is. So, all right, that was the only name I had on the list. Are there others who wish to speak? See one hand, Mr. Mariani?
I wasn't going to speak, and I wanted to respond to our friend, Mr. Dent's. When we first brought this up, there were several objections, and I really interpret them as excuses. First was, cars park on the street, you're going to have a fire, so that isn't going to happen because they're going to put the leaves in the street. Then they says, well, the car's parked in the street, so we can't get to the lawns. Well, we addressed that because you can have alternate street parking, you can get to the lawns. Then it was, excuse me, 87 miles of streets. Well, we have street sweeper here, and they do the 87 miles. So certainly our leaf trucks can do the 87 miles. And then came the man hours, which you brought up again tonight. Now, I'm sure there are a number of man hours that we use during the summer for grass cutting, et cetera, so on and so forth. And why these man hours can't be utilized? What do they do in the winter, these same man hours? So I see no reason why we can't have some better scheduling there. Now,
I believe they're seasonal, actually. Don't we have seasonal help for the summer?
Summertime,
Yeah.
Do have part-timers.
so then we'll have that part-time for the winter. We're talking about man hours. If you do it in the summer, there's no reason why we can't do it in the winter to provide this service. I'm sure over the years, as we've added a park, our park, our fishing pier, our et cetera and so forth, we've had to expand the number of hours that we need to maintain these things. So if you want to provide this service, then we will have to expand the number of hours that we have to do it. If I look at some of the costs that we have in this year's budget, we don't want to get into that. That's coming up. We can also contract this work out. If we don't feel we can do it, there's absolutely no reason why. There are people who do this. We can contract it out. You're concerned about man hours, so on and so forth. You don't have to be concerned about that. We'll contract it out just like to do for some of the maintenance around here. I think we can provide this. We're going to go back and forth forever, and the decision is going to be yours. But I really, really think, consider the number of people that are having difficulty taking care of this themselves. It's very, very expensive. Everyone my age isn't, thank God, as healthy as I am. I can still do it. So consider that. If you have to, go ahead and contract it out. But some of these things, honest to God, I regarded them as excuses. It was like a negative onslaught why we can't do it. We can do it. We should do it. I'd like to see you do it. And thank you for listening to me one more time.
Okay, thank you. Any other interested persons wishing to speak? Any hands? Just to, again, address Mr. Bernani's points. Again, we can go back and forth forever. You know, it's important to understand that the first thing we did, I think, as a board, and when this was brought up in the past, the first thing we did was go to our public works director, our foreman, and through our manager as well, and say, you know, what's it would it take? What's it like to do this? And you know, as Mr. Mariani says, excuses. You know, what we would call reasons and facts based on people that have actually done this work. It's coming from them. It's coming from the person who runs that department, who has some experience, who has experience with this. This isn't something we're just making up. We're taking that advice from the expert here in this building, and that's what we're talking about in terms of the difficulties with this. This is not something we're making up. This is something we're getting from the person who's worked here for a very long time and runs that department and knows what it's about. So, I mean, we have to have trust in these people because they do a very, very good job, and we do trust them. And I think it's something that we all have a lot of faith in the job that Mr. Arneo does and the rest of the staff. So, but as I said, I mean, I'm not quite as hostile toward leaves as Mr. Dents is. But I usually have somewhere in the area of 70 to 80 bags a year that I have to rake. So I sympathize with having to rake them up, and it is an ongoing process. I'll start probably in the next week or two, and I'll finish probably in January. So. Not necessarily something to look forward to, but it's obviously a responsibility as a homeowner, and I understand the difficulties that elderly people have, certainly it's something where we can hope that neighbors and people in the area who are looking for a few bucks might cut the grass in the summertime. Here's something else they can do in the fall, or kids in the neighborhood looking for some money on the side. So we have to think like a community and act that way. So. All right, those are all the people we had for public comment. Item number 2 is presentation by Pennsylvania Environmental Council regarding signs at the Quaker Penn Park. Mr. Gregg.
Yes, this summer the township was contacted regarding waterfront signage at the Quaker Penn boat ramp. 10 signs are being considered to be installed along the Delaware River and also on the Schuylkill. Through the Pennsylvania Environmental Council, a grant is available to design, fabricate, and install signs. Part of the process includes a sign maintenance agreement. This has been prepared, and the board is asked to consider this document. Also tonight, to discuss this matter further, is Mr. Paul Reset from the Pennsylvania Environmental Council.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Paul Reset with Pennsylvania Environmental Council, and just to know, we're a nonprofit group. We work across the state of Pennsylvania. We've been around for about 40 years. And one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is trails and greenways, the trails being land trails like recreational for biking, hiking, walking, and then water trails, basically maps that can show voters how to get onto the river, how to stay safe, and points of interest to see. So probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we worked on what we call the Tidal Delaware River Water Trail, which runs from Trenton to Marcus Hook, and was basically, we put together a series of maps, 3 maps that go from Trenton down to Philadelphia, then the Philadelphia area, and then from Philadelphia down to Marcus Hook. So basically it's a map, and it shows you where the boat launches are, points of interest, and all sorts of safety features. And we coordinated very closely with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and they have water trail maps that are all around the state for probably 20 or 30 water trail maps at this time. And at that time, we also put together what we call titletrail.org website, so you can also go online and learn about the trail. And then the third thing, which is I'm here tonight to talk about, is the signage. When we originally did these first set of maps, we had funding for 5 or 6 signs, and we installed them everywhere from Chester, Trenton, Neshaminy, Frankfurt, down in Philadelphia, West Deptford over in New Jersey. We had the signs up, and I'll show you them in a second, but so they've been up there for a number of years, and we also more recently got coastal zone management funding to install another series of signs, once again, probably up to 10 or 12, depending on agreements with landowners, at boat launches. And so there's probably, we're here at Falls Township, we're looking at Bristol, we're looking at Fort Mifflin, Pleasant Hill Park, all sorts of places up and down the river. So I do have an example of the sign. We started to work on a draft sign for Falls Township. Our hope is that the landowner agreement could be signed. We wanted to have a landowner agreement just so there was an agreement between the council and the landowner that, first of all, it's fine to go on and put the sign up, and then that there would be some kind of maintenance that the township would agree to, and then we were kind of there also to help out with repair and as needed. But the signs that have been put up have held up pretty well. We will give you two signs, so they're sort of a backup. And the whole thing is sort of set on a stanchion, so it's not only the sign itself, but it's a fairly stanchion kind of stand to put it on. And we do have the funding to do basic design, fabrication, installation of the sign. So we did work, and should I just provide a copy?
Yeah, please.
We had a sort of a draft version for Falls Township.
Just so you know, you have to talk to the microphone, otherwise I can't hear you. Sorry. You can take it with you if you want.
So this kind of just gives you an idea of what the sign is. It's fairly low, probably 2.5 by 3 feet on a stanchion, and on the top of it is the water trail reach from Trenton to Marcus Hook. So that's basically the whole map. Then everywhere we can get a sign located, we have "You are here," and that points out the area of where the sign is. In this case, where you guys have this Falls Township, I'm holding the Chamonix State Park. But that'll kind of have a blow up, and it'll show basically where you are. And then the work that we do is we try to identify points of interest that are near to the sign. So we have pictures of 6 points of interest for that area, and then we also identify where all the boat launches are in that area, and all sorts of things about safety. And once again, we work real closely with Fish and Boat Commission on the sign. So we did draft up 6 points of interest. We can still work on them. We can kind of work back and forth with the township on what you guys would like to see on the sign. So we got 5 on there, maybe a 6th one. And I guess I'm here hoping that this all looks good to you guys. And we did have a landowner agreement that I know your attorneys took a look at, and we went back and forth with that. And we hope that we'd be able to sign off on that and then complete this draft. And we would be able to do the installation probably October or early November. I'm basically working on a contract for the fabrication and installation, and we can kind of move forward expeditiously. We do have the funding just through to the end of December, so we were on the timeline as well to kind of finish the work.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Reset. Appreciate your information on that. Comments or questions regarding this proposal for a sign? Signs down to Pickford Penn Park. Mr. Galloway?
No, just that it looks very interesting, and if I was down there using the area, I'd find it very informative. Yeah. And I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
I think it's excellent, and the reference to Biles Island, of course, is, I don't know if it's a little premature, but I mean, not and yes, because we're really hoping it's going to be connected to the kind of recreation and tourism and money coming into the area that we're hoping this would produce of people coming through the area. So it's good to see this connection to potential parkland or recreation area in Biles Island. Thank you.
We're kind of open to work out with the best language for the township for that. And once again, that's our goal too, is really to get people to the river, into the river, in a boat, appreciating and enjoying it, and understanding what resources are out there, what places there are to visit and see and enjoy and experience. Any other questions?
Mr. Dents?
No, it's very nice. I like it.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, where is this going to be installed? Right at the boat ramp?
Right at the boat ramp, we had to work with you on the best location for it, and I had to draw, there's construction drawings, which I know I gave to Mr. Gray, and,
And is it intended to be read by the person putting in the boat, or as you're on the river?
the idea, no, you would be, people on land.
On the land, right.
So the boaters we look at, hopefully park users too, but just more for the boating community, they have an idea. I can put it in here, but then there's other launches up and down the river, and what am I gonna see? And staying safe is really important too. As the Fish and Boat Commissioner, we're big on the safety information too.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah, for obviously, the people at home can't see this, but the people in the audience either can't see it. You know, there is a sort of a larger map of the Delaware going down past, it's like, well, you know, past Ben Salem, really just from above, almost to Yardley or Marsville area all the way down, with different points of interest. There's sort of a blow-up of the area right where Falls is, and some of the areas of interest. You are here, as Mr. Rousset said. And all kinds of, you know, other information. Just it is almost like a map. You know, it's like a map you'd see if you were somewhere, you know, walking through Philadelphia or walking through some other, you know, area where there's a, you know, kind of tourism sites. One of the things I was interested in, the maps that you actually have in your hand there. Are those maps that we can sort of have here, just as
I brought a big stack.
oh,
of them,
great,
yeah.
that'd be great.
And the
Yeah.
idea is then the boater's gonna have the maps out on the
Right.
boat, and, you know, and.
right?
see-
And maybe even there's a way to sort of put, I know where the
A website?
kiosk is.
And there's a website as well,
Yeah.
so they can go onto the website, if they want to go to a particular section of the river, they can print out different parts of the map. But I also, like I said, I have a stack of these, and we're happy to provide these maps.
Say maybe where the kiosk is, where people buy the boat launch tickets, the passes and things, even having some kind of a container that can keep them safe from weather, but people can just sort of, you know, take a map if they want to, and obviously have them here too. So yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so really what we're looking for is just this sign maintenance agreement. This isn't, you know, we're not sort of buying the signs. You were putting them up, as you said, you got grants to do that, but we have to give you the permission to go on to our property and set up these signs. We're also taking some responsibility for helping to keep them, you know, in good order. You said you've used these in other places, 5 or 6 of them you said you put out so far over the
Yeah.
past couple of years?
Yeah, the first round went in, it was Chester, Ridley, Trenton, Neshaminy, Frankfurt, and Philadelphia, and West Deptford. So we had, I guess that was, 6 of them up there, and then we're looking for another 10 or 12 for this
Okay.
current grant. Yeah.
And what is, when did you start putting them in again?
The original one, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. yeah.
And how, I'm just curious in terms of the life expectancy of these signs, how, in terms of weathering and those kinds of
They've
things?
held up well, yeah, so
Okay.
we're, you know, they're not gonna be forever, but
Right,
it's, you
sure.
know, it's, and I'm sure it might be another 6 or 7 years, and we'll be putting up, you know, another round of them.
Okay.
Continual process, but the ones that have gone up have held up well, and we were providing the 2 copies, figuring if there was any issue that came up with,
Sure.
you know, damage or vandalism or whatever, but at least you'd have, you know, 2 copies of them
I see.
as a backup of the actual panel, and they've held up well.
Okay. Oh, excellent. All right. Is there any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to enter into the sign maintenance agreement with the Pennsylvania Environmental Council for the sign at Quaker Penn Park?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consider resolution for Falls Township's application to the Bucks County Municipal Open Space Program. Mr. Gray.
Part of the Bucks County Municipal Open Space application process is a requirement for a resolution to be approved by the township. There is a resolution available for consideration. The board is asked to review this. Also tonight, to discuss this matter further is Mr. Eric Rosina from ACT Engineers.
All right, Mr. Rosina, thank you for coming out. So we've talked before about the fact that Bucks County Open Space Program is not, allocates money to municipalities throughout Bucks County based on population usually, or population. And that money is allowed to be used for the purchase of property to be maintained as open space or for improvements to already existing open space. And so that money, $945,000?
$45,000, yeah.
$945,000 allocated to Falls would allow us to do some of the work we're looking to do on Phase 1 of Biles Island. We have, over the past several years, looked at a variety of other properties in the township that we could use this money on. We've been in negotiations with different people to purchase different properties, and none of it has worked for a variety of reasons. And we also have to keep in mind that properties that might look attractive to purchase, if it's purchased with open space, can never be used for anything but open space. So I know some people have raised the idea of maybe purchasing the property that's down the street here on Lincoln Highway, the old drive-in that's pretty much vacant. Why can't we purchase that and sell it to a developer and have something positive come in? That idea was raised when Aria was looking to move up to Lower Makefield. People said, well, let's help them go in there and we can use open space. You can't. You use open space money to buy something like that, you can never develop it. You couldn't even sell it to someone if and then have them develop it. It wouldn't work. So this is, I think, and what we've come to understand is this is the best use of this money. We lose this money if we don't spend it by the end of next year, correct?
Yes.
So, so essentially, this is just an application to officially use this money for this project. And it goes to the county, correct?
That's correct. This is a resolution to file the application with the county to accept the money. Once they go through their approval process from here, we will have the required documents to make a full application. Once we have that full application in, the Open Space Board or Planning Commission will review that. We've already gotten conceptual approval from them. That will then get referred up to the county commissioners, who will then approve it. So it's probably a couple months process to get through there.
Right.
But that's where we're headed. With this resolution here, you're authorizing that process to continue.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, I think we should move forward.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. Any public comment needed? See no hands. All right, so this would be application, this would be a resolution 2013-29,
29.
13-29. Okay. All right, is there a motion then to approve resolution 1329, application to the Bucks County Municipal Open Space Program?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rosina. Okay, item 4 is consider resolution for PennDOT application for the traffic control signal at the intersection of Tyburn Road and New Falls Road. Okay, Mr. Gray?
Remington-Vernick Beach is preparing an application to submit to PennDOT for traffic signal improvements at the intersection of New Falls Road and Tyburn Road. Part of the application process requires a resolution. The board is asked to consider the resolution at this time. Tonight to discuss this item further is Mr. Michael Angelastro from Remington-Vernick Beach.
Hello. We were here a month or so ago and explained the proposed improvements at the intersection, and in order for the project to move forward, we need to make an application to PennDOT, and before we do that, we need this resolution essentially saying the township's on board with the proposed improvements at this intersection. So we're just looking to get a resolution passed so we can get our application package together and submit it to PennDOT for review and approval.
And I guess just for the purpose of reviewing, for people that don't always watch this program, what exactly are we looking to do with that intersection?
What we're doing is, right now, is Tyburn Road, actually it's the New Falls Road approach. The northbound approach gets a green arrow. Folks get to go, and then after a certain amount of time, the southbound New Falls approach gets the green. What we're going to do is we're going to change some equipment out, retime the signal. Northbound will get a green arrow and with the only approach moving, and then southbound will get a green arrow, the only approach moving, and this way we can get the southbound traffic through the intersection a little bit easier.
Okay. All right, and for those that are...
I think you had it backwards.
Yeah, for that was going to say...
Sure. Southbound gets the arrow first.
Well, people coming out of Fallsington, let's put it
Correct.
that way. Yeah, people coming out of Fallsington, for those that are directionally, challenged, because I'm having to stop and think north and southbound. That's okay. No, it's all right. For people coming out of Fallsington across Tyburn to New Falls, heading toward, the high school and St. Joe's, you'll get a solid green first. It'll clear that traffic, with usually not that many cars coming out. And then following that, the people coming from the more Levittown section, coming from where St. Joe's is, coming from where the high school is, heading toward Fallsington, they'll just have an uninterrupted, green. They can turn, they can go straight, they can do whatever they want. And so that's kind of the idea is that right now, the way the arrow is set up, people coming from, heading toward Fallsington, usually turning to go on Tyburn Road, they have a green, and then all of a sudden the arrow goes away, and then there's a conflict in terms of people coming out of Fallsington and the people coming toward, and it's a mess. And I see it every day. Mr. Rocco sees it every day. There are accidents there pretty regularly. It just is. We've had a previous engineer look at it, and we thought there was going to be some solution there, and it didn't happen. So, hopefully, I think this is a good idea. I think this is actually a pretty smart solution to this. So. Appreciate the work that your company's done, obviously.
And I apologize getting my directions.
That's okay. It's all right.
No big deal.
It's okay. So we're looking then, excuse me, another resolution. This would be 1330.
Yes.
Okay. Application to PennDOT for the traffic control signal at the intersection of Tyburn Road and New Falls Road. This is just a step in the process of getting allowed to do this. Any public comment? See no hands. Okay, is there any board comment, sorry?
No.
Okay. No. All right. Is there a motion then to approve Resolution 13-30?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 5 is consider proposals from the Bucks County Consortium regarding the purchase of rock salt. Mr. Gray.
Township received a letter dated September 10th from the Bucks County Consortium, of which Falls Township is a member of the consortium, regarding the purchase of rock salt for the 2013-2014 season. The consortium received 4 bids. The bidders included International Salt, Cargill, American Rock Salt, and Oceanport. Mr. Arneo, Public Works Foreman, has reviewed these quotes and is recommending International Salt for a delivery price per ton of $50.44, undelivered price per ton $50. The board is asked to consider this quote for International Salt.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Gray? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, none.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
No.
Okay. It seems very straightforward. Hopefully, we won't have to use a whole lot of this year. Maybe we'll have a lot left over for next year and won't have to buy it again. Any public comment needed? I see no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to award the proposal for salt, rock salt, for the 2013-14 season to International Salt Company, LLC, at the prices provided according to the Bucks County Consortium memo dated September 10th, 2013?
So moved.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Callaway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
All right. Okay, item 6 is consider quotes for installation of Motorola radios for police and fire. Another meeting and 10 awards here. What a surprise.
How are you?
Good.
We had 3 bids come in, proposals for the installation of the radios from Havishield, All System Wireless, and Motorola Solutions. We're recommending that we go with All System Wireless at $16,600. Havishields, if you look at it, comes in at about $14,000 and change, but they will not be able to do the building, what we need to be done inside the building with the fire marshal's office, the emergency management office, and the police side, so we can hear the radio inside the building. Also, we have to send the cars to Havishield with a 3-day turnaround, so we lose a car for 3 days. With All System Wireless, they come here, they'll be able to do 2 to 3 cars a day, and we won't lose any cars.
Okay. All right, it seems like a pretty easy choice. Comments or questions for Lieutenant Ward? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none, thank you.
I know we've heard a lot about radios over the past few months, so I
Boy,
guess
this is it.
I'm sure you'll be glad when this is done.
Yes.
Any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, is there a motion then to award, to accept the quote from All Systems Wireless, $16,600 for the removal and installation of new radios for the township.
I'll
So-
make the motion.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Callaway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocker?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Excuse me, Lieutenant Ward, if I
Yes.
could real quick, you and I spoke the other day regarding, I was going to do just that board comment, but since you're here, there's been quite a few break-ins of open cars.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind commenting on that, making some suggestions. Obviously, locking the cars would be one of them, but I also read one of the online publications today that it's occurring in Thornridge. I know it's occurring in Fallsington Woods, and Nottingham as well, so.
Yes.
hope you guys
Within the
don't mind.
past month or so, we've had about 35, not break-ins, but thefts from vehicles. Vast majority of them have been cars that are unlocked, and even parked in the driveways of the person's houses. The only two that we've had that were forcible entries where the windows were smashed or where people left like laptop computers visible from the outside. So it was worth somebody taking the risk of getting caught and making noise. But we've had instances where the house on the left of you would be hit because their car was unlocked, my car is locked, they pass my house and go to the next door neighbor's house who's unlocked. They're obviously trying all of them, but they're passing cars that are locked. The best thing that we could ask people to do is lock your cars and be very vigilant. The areas that are being hit are Nottingham Village, Sherwood Drive, Taylor Drive, along Lower Morrisville Road. We did catch somebody about 2 weeks ago that seems to be working that area. It seemed to slow down a little bit, but now it's starting to pick back up again. And we are also getting hit in Thornridge, Birch Valley, and Vermilion Hills. We have extra patrols out. We're trying to catch them, but it's like a needle in a haystack. These guys are staying close to the houses. They're moving in between the houses. They're not just like walking down the street. And the best thing I could do is people to report this to us to let us know. There is a pattern there. I feel that the vast majority of these thefts are not even being reported to us because they're loose change, stuff like that. If somebody loses $5 of change, they don't think it's worth us calling us. When they lose a credit card or a GPS or something more substantial, then they call us. But these guys are actually, like, you could see they're working streets. So if we can predict where they're going to be next time, if everybody will call us, we have a better chance of catching them. So we're just asking everybody to call us. Even if you think somebody's been in your car, just give us a call.
Okay, thank you. Didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. We did release an article to the Courier Times. It should be in tomorrow's paper, advising people of the same.
Okay. Are you finding the pattern in terms of these thefts, are they happening mostly at nights, overnight?
Yes, they're happening at nights, mostly late at night after midnight.
Okay.
Most of the people that we're seeing are coming in about 10. They've last seen their car in good order about 10, getting up for work the next morning around 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I know 4 people personally, and they only took change as well. So.
Yes, and this has historically been a problem with the township that flashes up year to year.
Yeah.
And it's usually the same group of people that are doing it. You can tell when they're out of prison. You know, we go look, we direct on them. And matter of fact, the person we caught has been arrested 4 or 5 times over the years for doing the same thing. So they teach the younger crowd how to do it, and
Right.
we're off to the races.
Right, okay. Mr. Gray, maybe this is something we can have on the township channel as it scrolls through. Maybe one of the panes can be about, lock your doors, lock your car doors especially, just, letting people know that, because I don't know how many people obviously watch this channel, how many people get the Courier. So every piece of information we can put out there, even maybe something on the website, a little scroll or something like that, just so people can click on something and see that there's an issue. Okay? All right.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
very much. Appreciate it. Okay, item 7 is consider adopting Parks and Recreation Security Guards Manual. Mr. Gray.
Falls Township Park and Rec Security Manual has been prepared, which outlines the rules and regulations. This document has been reviewed by legal counsel and the Park and Rec security staff. The board is asked to consider adopting the Park and Rec Security Manual. Also, tonight, for additional questions, is Mr. Bill Reese, Security Chief Ralph Connor, and Guard Doug Miller.
Okay. All right. The manual, again, for security guards, just a manual about, goes through everything from hiring process to opening and closing parks, For each individual park, there's sometimes certain special requirements or special rules, use of radios, people injured on duty. It's really sort of an employee manual for the security guards. So I ask Mr. Reese and any of his employees who want to comment on this. You've obviously taken a look at this. You've had some, is this something you believe is going to be helpful? And do we have something like this now or no?
No, I think this will be most helpful for us, Mr. Harvey. Through the years, the park security staff has grown and given more responsibility, cover more areas, as with the park, Quaker Penn, and everything that's going on in the township, even all the other parks that the township owns. And really looking in the handbook or looking at any of our ordinances that we have in the township, park security staff really isn't noted or in there, so I think this will be a big help. The only actual thing we had in writing was like the actual job description for the parks group, but this really covers everything, and it just coincides with the handbook. We've had a lot of people look over it. I know Mr. Gray has looked at it. We had representatives from the police look at it. It's kind of similar like with the crossing guards. They have their own manual, so I think it'll be very helpful for our staff. And Ralph put a lot of time in it, Doug put a lot of time in it, a couple other park security staff, Jenna Russo, and myself. So there's a lot of people who've been involved with this, and I think it'll be very, very helpful for all our staff.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions from board members for Mr. Reese or for Mr. Connor, Mr. Miller?
Chief Connor.
Chief Connor, sorry.
There's also our K-9 security down there.
Mr. Galloway.
No questions. I can tell you put a lot of work into it.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
I think it's excellent that we have it, and seems very comprehensive. I know it's kind of been partly in living it out that you realize what'll have to be changed over time.
Correct.
But as you find out what you left out or what needs to be changed. But thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Dents?
I think it's great. I mean, it makes everybody's job easier when you have a written set of, what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do, so
Exactly.
nice job.
Mr. Rocco?
All right, nice job.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and as Mr. Gray said, worked with our labor attorney on this in terms of putting this together so we can make sure that it's covering everything we need to cover. And as Mr. Snipes said, as we go through things, I'm sure there's going to be something that kind of falls into a gray area, and we'll address that when it happens. It happens with every manual, every kind of policy. There's always something you can't plan for. So, any public comment? See none. Okay, is there a motion then to adopt the Parks and Rec Security Guards Manual?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, item 8 is consider quotes for the Yatsko Field lighting. Mr. Gray, and then I guess maybe we go over to Mr. Sullivan after that.
T&M has reviewed the proposal submitted to Falls Township for the Yatsko Field Lighting Improvements Project, which includes providing new poles, lighting fixtures around the perimeter of the parking lot at the Yatsko Field Baseball Complex. The proposals were opened on September 24th. 3 bids are received. Marachi Brothers, $17,150.50. Armour and Sons Electric, $17,195, and AJM Electric, $28,200. Marachi Brothers is the lowest responsive bidder. It is recommended that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Engineer's Office to issue a notice of intent to award to Marachi Brothers for the total bid cost of $17,150.50.
Okay. I know we've had some concerns from people at Levittown American regarding Yatsko Field. It does get very, very dark over there. There are not a lot of lights. When you have fall ball going on, it gets dark earlier. When you have, I guess, even some stuff in the spring before before it gets light. And again, you have events that people park there for Pennsbury football games or graduation or something like that. So it really is it's our parking lot, and so we're responsible for it. And it does make sense to have lights there that provide some safety. Comments or questions for, I guess, Mr. Sullivan on this? Mr. Sullivan, do you have anything to add in terms of this project?
The project consists of 6 new poles. There are existing poles out there. It turns out we couldn't attach any of our new light fixtures to those poles, so we're going to have to put in 6 new poles, all fixtures will be LED lights. The township will purchase the LED lights and then furnish them to the contractor for installation.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions, Mr. Galloway?
No comments.
Mr. Snipes?
Did you, I missed whether you already mentioned the issue of neighbors and their concerns about the lights?
I'm assuming with the LED lights, there's a limited amount of ambient kind of lighting that shoots off. And I think most of the lights are pointed, there aren't a whole lot of houses there.
Right, there aren't many residential properties or uses in that neighborhood. The LED lights are more directed downward than your high-pressure sodium or metal halides.
Right. So it really shouldn't be too much of an issue. I'm trying to think of how far away the closest house would be from where one of these lights
You
would be.
put on Orleans Avenue, and it's
Yeah.
some distance.
Yeah, they're not that close, yeah, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
Right, and these are in the parking lot, just so people are clear.
Right.
I got a phone call from someone today who thought we were putting field lights, Musco lighting in the field.
Okay.
This is just the parking lot we're lighting.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Right.
Mr. Gray, we did budget for this, I believe, right?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
I guess two other things. I'm glad to see we're using LEDs, obviously. And what would be the time frame on these? If we approve this tonight, what would be the time frame for installation?
I'm sure they could start right away.
Couple days.
It's just a few days' worth of work. $17,000 worth.
It shouldn't take them very long to put the poles in, maybe a couple weeks worth of work for the project.
We'll have to work around people parking there, right? I mean,
Oh, during the day, yeah, Pensbury
because
Park's there.
Pensbury Parks are during the day. You still have fall ball going on, right? Or is it fall ball over?
No,
Scratch
probably another
his head,
3
he didn't
weeks.
consider
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Oh, so we're out to what, December now?
No, they're still in school in December. June of next year.
Mr. Clark keeps whispering in my ear that they have to go with the responsible contractor, which is correct. So there'll be a time period before they can actually start. But when they do start, beginning of November or so, again, it's about a 2 weeks project. And, I mean, the poles are outside all the parking areas, so there shouldn't be a problem with traffic interfering with the project.
Right, and we've used these guys before, so,
Yes, we have.
yeah. Okay.
All right, a question just raised because of the responsible contractors. Or should we, in addition to approving this bid tonight, should we also do a second motion giving authority to Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Gray to allow the contractor to move forward without having to wait for us to vote again if they meet the responsible contractors ordinance?
The 30th day will be on Halloween.
Well, yeah, or-
And we won't meet again for about 6 or 7 days later. So if you want to do that second motion, you can, that if once the responsible contractor determination is made, Mr. Gray can just sign all the contracts.
Okay. All right, does that sound good?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll make that motion.
All right, well, we got to award it first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll make the motion to award it to Marachi Brothers for $17,150
50 cents.
50
and
cents.
50 cents.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Now I'll make the motion to authorize Mr. Gray to award this contract once they meet the RCO.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, minutes for September 3rd, 2013. Any corrections or comments regarding the minutes as they are presented?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Excellent minutes once again, Mrs. Bullen, thank you.
Okay. Any other
No.
No.
comments? Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the minutes as presented for September 17th, 2013?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to have executive session later. We're going to move to manager comment. Mr. Gray?
Yes, just two announcements tonight. Township received the leaf collection pickup for the upcoming leaf collection season. 3 dates, November 2nd, November 15th, and December 7th. Also, the Christmas tree collection will be held January 4th, 2014, and January 11th, 2014. Also, 2 announcements from the Park and Rec Department. The Three Arches 300-year-old birthday celebration will be held Saturday, October 19th from 11 to 3 p.m. Also, the annual Halloween Children's Party will be held on Saturday, October 19th from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m.
Any attractions at that party?
Not that I'm aware of.
Really?
Easter Bunny.
And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, we'll move to board comment. Mr. Dents?
I want to comment, I had received an email from someone when we talked about traffic calming at our last meeting. I commented that something was misunderstood. The police were the ones that told us about Austin Drive was one of their worst roads. And the only feedback that we received was negative feedback from residents. That doesn't mean that we don't want to do anything on Austin Drive or wouldn't do anything, but we received no positive feedback from anyone telling us that that was a good idea, that they thought we should stripe it or anything else. I just wanted to clarify that, it wasn't negative that we didn't want to do anything on Austin Drive. I also think that we should still continue talking about the traffic calming. We kind of left it hanging after the last meeting. And we discussed forming a committee with somebody from the police and maybe some residents, and I just wanted to keep that going.
Okay.
Maybe we can put that on the agenda again for next meeting.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's make that an agenda item for a discussion for a traffic calming committee.
And that's all I have tonight.
And I think it probably makes sense to just add on to that, just somebody from Public Works, because obviously they would be responsible for, we don't want to put anything out there that's going to interrupt, plowing or any other, they're the ones going to have to do maintenance on it, so any kind of striping or anything else we do, they would have to have some involvement in, so. Okay, Mr. Snipes.
Yes, just to comment on the signal changes that are going to happen at Tyburn Road and New Falls Road, I think is long overdue. I think it's really great. It'll help our safety in that intersection. There was just an accident there a couple months ago that I witnessed and was there for, and I've seen many over the years, so that's a really important change. And then also, the serious accident that happened at the post office on West Trenton, I don't know what to call them, the divider posts that were put up then at that exit really do make a huge difference. I feel like they really slow people down and make them think as they're turning in and turning out. So that's something to keep in mind, that although it throws you off for a minute, it's for a reason. It's to slow you down and really make you think about the turn you're about to make. So I think there are probably some other techniques like that that could be used. So I look forward to hearing about it. Okay. I think Jeff's idea is great.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
I agree with Mr. Dents regarding the traffic calming. I think it's something we need to continue to look at. Committee, I think it's a good idea. Public awareness, public participation, Public Works, our police officers, and I guess the traffic engineers as well, if needed. So I'm all for that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No comments tonight.
Okay. I want to thank, obviously, all the professionals and the staff for putting everything they do to make these meetings happen. A few announcements. Mr. Gray and Mr. Sullivan met last week with a representative from FEMA. For those people living, especially in the North Park area, we've had a lot of complaints for years and years now about the fact that people that live near the creek that runs through North Park have to pay flood insurance, depending on where the mortgage comes from, et cetera, because they live in what's called a flood zone. We've had various arguments. We've had a meeting one time with residents in this room with representatives from FEMA, I think somebody else from the National Flood Insurance Program. There was a representative from Congressman Murphy's office at the time. That's how long ago it was when Congressman Murphy was in office. And we were trying to get them to sort of do some changes with the maps because they were updating maps, and hopefully they can really kind of take a look at if these homes are really in the floodplain. We tend to think that there may be some that are, but most of the people that are in the floodplain or consider the floodplain are really not. And yet they're paying enormous amounts of money for flood insurance, when really it's something that it doesn't need to be. They did have a meeting last week with an individual from FEMA to try to get some movement. Unfortunately, we haven't had a whole lot of success getting them to sort of consider any changes. We do have some residents that have gone through and hired their own surveyors who have surveyed their property, and if they can show through the surveys that their property is above or not in the floodplain, they can get dropped from that flood insurance. And usually it costs, and I'll ask Mr. Sullivan to confirm this, a couple $100 to have your property surveyed, just to...
It's about $500 for an
$500.
elevation
That's what you
certificate.
charge?
He's much more expensive.
Yeah, but it usually will end up saving you money. If you're out of the floodplain, you're going to save more than $500 because the flood insurance is a lot of money. I know Mr. Gray had some statistics, and I'll if I can do them from memory. Since 1980, it's $78 million worth of property that's insured in falls. Is that correct?
Yes.
Like that? $78 million, and since 1980, FEMA has only had to pay out roughly $900,000 in flood damage. And much of that is just going to one property, an apartment complex, which is right along the creek, right across the street from St. Joseph the Worker. So there's a whole lot of people paying a lot of money for flood insurance, and there doesn't seem to really be a reason for doing that. So it is an issue we're working on. It's sometimes like banging your head against the wall to get anything done. But it is something that we're conscious of, and we're going to keep trying to get them to do it. They're talking about changing the maps and updating them, and we're trying to make sure that they are reflecting reality, that some of the places that are marked as flood zones are not. Their elevation is higher than what the floodplain is, and so we're working on that. Another change you might see going to the parks the next few months, Mr. Gray has been working with Waste Management and our Park and Rec staff and Public Works. There are going to be new recycling cans in addition to trash cans in our township parks that'll enable people to sort of separate the two. There will also be a special dumpster, I guess there's the way they're going to work it, that'll just have recycling, so our staff will know to empty trash into the trash dumpster, recycling into the recycling dumpster, and then Waste Management will come and pick them up separately. As it is currently, we don't really have recycling in the parks, and obviously there's a great number of people who go there, and they've all got plastic water bottles and Gatorade bottles, and so I think it's a good step in the right direction. I know John Gillis has been talking about that for a while. He's our Public Works man for the parks. Basically, he does all the work out there. So I know he's tried to get that done for a while. So I appreciate the work Mr. Gray did on that, and working with Waste Management and the rest of the people here in this building. So another good step in the right direction. So and with that, I guess.
Excuse me.
We have a Park and Rec correction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Park and Rec correction.
There is a different date for the Halloween Children's Party. It was initially announced Saturday, October 19th. It's actually Saturday, October 26th, from 1 to 3.
Okay. So we have the Three Arches celebrations on
The 19th.
the 19th, and the week after that is the
26th.
Halloween.
Halloween, that's correct.
On Three Arches?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that correction, and that'll all be reflected on the website and on the cable.
Yes, it will.
All right. All right, we are going to adjourn the meeting. We're then going to have an executive session. We'll update the public as to the contents of the executive session at our next meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:05?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.